Before we get into today's video, I want to announce that there is a free Crush Live Poker podcast available on all the major podcast platforms. Just head over to a place like Apple's Podcasts or Spotify and search for free Crush Live Poker podcast, and you will get to hear best of parts of the subscription podcast that we put out on a weekly basis over on crushlivepoker.com. And do me a favor, if you do like this podcast, give it a rating and maybe even write a review. It would be a big, big help.
Opens 35.
Okay.
3 callers. MP hijack cutoff calls, which is pretty standard. I'm button with ace jack of hearts, and I 3-bet to 180.
So 35, 3 callers, and you make it 180. Everyone's like very, very deep. It's a very deep game, at least 500 big blinds, but like in the example you're using 1,000. So yeah, I would say that this is standard squeeze spot with the overlay. The 3-bet, you made it 185 with all that dead money out there. Might be a hair on the smaller side. Like if you were to do, say, like a 4x plus all the dead calls in there, and especially also too, you're deep, so you have a lot of stack depth. 4x of 35 would be 140, and then another, say, 105 in dead money would be like 245. So you could make a case that this is a little bit on the smaller side. I would definitely make it plus 200 or more, but okay, so you make it 185 on the button.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And then then the small blind cold calls.
Small blind cold calls, okay.
Yes, the UTG +1 calls, and the rest folds.
So small blind cold calls, the +1 who's the original opener calls, and then the other flat callers fold, right? All right, so 3 ways, 185 plus another 105 and dead money. That's what, 370, 555, like 660, I think, off the top of my head.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, okay.
And then, so then 3-way to the flop, and then flop goes 369 rainbow. So it's 3 clubs, 6 hearts, and 9 spades.
Okay, so 639 rainbow. You got a backdoor heart draw. Okay.
So it checks to me, and I see bet 300.
Bets 300, so it's about half the size of the pot. That is, again, one of these sizes that isn't necessarily reflected in a lot of, I would say, like if you run this into a computer type of thing, usually you'll see a reflection of a 1/3 sizing. It's really hard to do this because, again, this is one of these ones where you have to lean on a little bit of experience, because how often is a small blind like cold calling 3-bets? The game tree at 1,000 big blinds, I don't know. I'm not super familiar with the way that these things work and the server power that you have to have. Maybe there is some hands that are cold called at 1,000 big blinds from the small blind. I don't know, but usually people don't run them. But usually you'll see like a 1/3, or you'll see like a 2/3 kind of sizing. In live, it's kind of interesting because it sort of represents kind of a smaller bet. I might have gone like 250 here or something like that, but okay, you bet 300.
Yeah, just for background, it's my first time playing with the small blind. So, but from we've played for about an hour-ish, and he seemed like pretty active. But again, it was my first time, and there wasn't like a lot of showdown. So
okay.
So small blind calls, and the UTG +1 folds.
All right, so small blind calls, +1 folds. So what does that mean about the small blind's hand when he calls?
I guess it could be a draw, it could be like 7-8, it could be like pocket 7s, pocket 8s, pocket 4s kind of thing.
Well, what I would say is that the small blind calling with a player to act to his left, and again, if these guys are recreational, a lot of this stuff might go out the window, but he should be stronger than what would be the range of him calling if he was in the +1 spot. Like, he shouldn't be calling here with pocket 4s. Now, if he was in +1 and the small blind folded, you bet 300 and the small blind folded, he can certainly call with pocket 4s here. But in between, he definitely is supposed to be defending a lot tighter. He's supposed to be, right? So, and again, you know, you look at it and it's like, well, what are the draws out here? 4-5 suited, 7-8 suited. Are those hands cold called to a 3-bet? I mean, normally what you would see here as a reflection in somewhat normal play is that he might have like 10s or jacks here. I mean, I don't even know if I would continue here with 8s, to be perfectly honest with you. It would be better for him if he had a hand like 5-6 than continuing with 8s, because 5-6 has more equity, has more chance to improve later on in the hand if he's behind. But again, it's a cold call of a 3-bet. So, you know, does he have those hands? It's kind of interesting.
So like the turn card is Queen of Hearts. So I was like, okay, great.
That's a good card for
Good
you.
card for me.
Yep. So 3 of clubs, 6 of hearts, 9 of spades, Queen of hearts. Hero has 3-bet on the button with ace jack of hearts. C-bet about half the size of the pot. Small blind calls, +1 folds. Pot's 1260. Turns to Queen of hearts. Disconnected, overcard, brings in the backdoor flush draw. Okay. Yep.
So on the turn, the small blind checks. I bet 1,000.
So
and he calls after that.
that's kind of interesting that you use this sizing here, because let me ask you this question, and I think it, and even me sometimes too, I will sometimes be like in a scenario where I pick up a big draw on the turn, and you know we're learning that should be reflected, especially with a card that's good for you and bad for him, with kind of a larger bet. But with that being said, if that's the case, you are supposed to have one pair of hands here for value here too, in the sense that, like, would you bet aces here for 1,000? Now, this might be a 2/3 reflection here where I might go 800, but would you be betting aces here for 1,000? Would you be betting like ace queen of clubs here for 1,000? Would you be betting kings here for 1,000 here on the turn?
That's a fair point. I think because Queen was a good card, so I was like, okay, this is like probably a good spot to like exert some pressure. I think aces. If I had aces, I think I actually would have gone like slightly lower actually.
Right.
Now that you like about like 800.
Right, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. You know, if we do sort of want to make overall sense in the hand. The other thing too is that I do think that if he has like 10s or jacks, or if he's getting stubborn with like 8s, I still think 800 would probably still do the same type of job here. So that's why I might prefer a 2/3 sizing bet. I see some people in the live chat saying, oh, can the small blind have ace queen? Again, I mean, I suppose it's possible. The hero has an ace in her hand, but the small blind had to deal with somebody behind him. So that should lend itself to no, it shouldn't really be ace queen here. In a multi-way defend spot here in a 3-bet pot. But small blind calls, so now the pot's 3260, right? I mean, if the guy could be getting stubborn, obviously, with like 10s, jacks, you know, something like that. But it's kind of interesting. All right, let's go to the river.
So the river's a 3 of spades. So
okay,
it pairs
the board.
up.
Yep.
And then so this is where like it gets like interesting. So he suddenly like bets 3,000.
He bets 3,000?
Yes, so he suddenly like, and this was very unexpected, at least like from my end. He suddenly like, yeah, he just bets 3K, and I'm kind of like, and we started like the effective stack size is 11.3K.
All right, I had it up as 10,000, so we'll be more precise at 11.3K. Here's the thing, though. I mean, it would be one thing if the guy threw out like a blockish type of bet of like less than 1/3, and he was trying to like sort of, you know, trying to like kind of name his price basically for kind of a showdown. Betting pot here is not a blockish bet. And I don't know if you're trying to think of like doing something crazy here, but even starting at 11,300, you've already committed 4,500 to the hand, which would mean that you've got maybe 7,000 left. So if you bet 3,000 into 32, and you were to say like do something crazy and shove all in, the pot would be 13-2, and it would be only 4,000 for him to call. Even starting with 1,100 big blinds here, the fact that he's bet 300 big blinds here at the end, he's going to get over 3-1. So there's a couple of things going against you here. I mean, I think I just fold and give the guy credit for 9-9 or queen-queen, sort of just, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I think if you had aces or kings, you might even be, I mean, if I didn't know the guy and you had aces or kings, I think you're just going to kind of have to sigh call. But this really, really looks kind of nutted up here.
So yeah, I was kind of like, I mean, I was very taken aback. I just thought it was like kind of unorthodox in terms of like the sizing and so I was like, I mean, I was thinking about like, you know, what are the draws, what are the like value hands, and I just like, I mean, when I just thought through the hand, I just didn't see a lot of um like ace three suited, like pocket sixes, pocket nines, which basically played this way. The only thing that kind of makes sense is like ace three suited. And like I didn't really, I think it's like quite rare for like recreational players to play like pocket sixes and nines that way, at least to me. And I just didn't see him having like a lot of like value hands there. I just saw a lot more like middling hands, but the size of the bet was just really strange. So so I was like thinking about it. So then I jammed for about like 6.8k more. Like so I jammed like 9k.
But do you follow me though? I mean, so you jam for 9,000, is that what you said? 9,000?
Yeah, so I jammed 9.8.
Okay. Oh, maybe. All right. Yeah. Me. I think I had done the math out in the front. So he would be getting slightly less. So it would be 15,000, 6,000 for him to call. He's still getting 2.5-1. But like, what do you think that he has here that he's betting? What are the hands that you think he's going to fold here?
So I mean, I guess down here, like very honestly, in this spot, like I was kind of like unsure into like what to do, in the sense that I just didn't see like a lot of nutted hands in his range. I also felt I didn't have a lot of nutted hands in my range, because it's like aces, kings, ace, queen. I would have like called. I only kind of feel like I have like queens and nines. But I just felt at that point he didn't have like a very strong hand, like likelihood that he didn't have a strong hand.
Well, let me ask you this question too. Like, even if I put myself in your spot, there's a couple of things to think about here. Yeah. I don't even know if I would do, if you had, first of all, if you had aces and kings, what would you do on the river?
Call.
You would call, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if you had aces and king, if you had aces, you know, if you had aces or kings, you would call. What would you even do with pocket nines here?
Pocket nines, I'll probably jam in. I'll probably jam with pocket nines.
I got to be honest with you. I don't even know if I would do that with pocket nines. Here's the thing: if you have pocket nines and he can't have pocket nines, right? And you take a look at a typical cold calling range in the small blind here, queens has to be one of those hands. So if he's super polar to nines or queens, and you have nines, then it's got to be just a call, right? With nines. Like, what are you getting value from with nines? How is nines different than aces or kings here?
Yeah. No. I guess at that point I just assumed. I went with the assumption that I didn't see like a very recreational player like flatting there in the small blind with queens. So for that I felt like queens were more unlikely in that spot.
No, but I know. I'm asking you though, with this line, is there any difference here between like nines and aces? I'm not talking about the blocking properties, but just the value of your hand.
Yeah. Just a little bit above, like you beat like accidental trips and stuff, but not
like ace three or pocket sixes. Yeah. I don't even know if I jam here with nines, and that's the whole thing. So if you're really only repping queen, now obviously this is an underbluffed line. It's going to take some balls to kind of do this, but I don't know. It seems awfully nutted here. And I would probably just fold. The other thing too is that I think calling might even be better than jamming here if you somehow think that he's got a busted draw. Because again, like, what hand has any showdown value that would take this line, unless like he's turning like pocket eights or pocket sevens or something like that, no bluff, but just seems awfully optimistic. What ended up happening?
In the end, he tanked for like a long time,
Hmm.
and then he folded. He verbally claimed that he had like a pair that was like below a nine pair, but I'm not sure
Wow.
whether that's true.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow. That's crazy. So you never found out what he had.
I didn't find out.
I mean, you're obviously calling in for my advice, and what I would say, I mean, we don't have a whole
No,
lot of
yeah, I
information,
don't
is
know.
that this is usually
Yeah,
a very, very nutted line by your opponent. I mean, if you wanna raise over the top on the river of a block bet, then fine. But 3,000 here, it's just it seems it ended up working out for you, Al. But I do
no,
appreciate
I
the
know. I feel like it's a lot like as in, I mean, being results oriented, yes. I just thought
yeah.
at the end, like I was thinking like it's like probably like burning money just because like I mean I was just like looking through, I'm just like repping so little.
Yeah. I mean, here's the other thing though, from your opponent's perspective. If he's bad enough to like bet 3,000 with eights and you jam on him, I don't see him being able to work through that you're only repping queen queen, which I think that you really are only really repping queen queen here. But it's I just wonder sometimes if calling is better than raising in this spot. Again, if he does have like a low pair that he's turning into a bluff, then obviously the answer is no. But I think some people don't think through that sometimes as well. But I really appreciate the call. Thank you very much.